it's so weird because, like, I feel like I have this obligation to you guys, and as a mom, like, your first obligation is to your kid, right? And I started this like whole TikTok, and I never thought that it would blow up. I never imagined that so many people would follow. So now, outside of my son, I feel like I have an obligation to you, and I want you guys to understand what's going on. There's been a lot of questions. There's been I see a lot of questions about everything that's gone on in this case, and I feel like you've been so invested that I owe you answers, and I don't know that I do, but I appreciate you for being here. So because you're so invested, and because of the love that you've shown me, I feel like I need to explain things to you guys, because there's a lot of questions. There are there's questions I can't answer, but there's questions that I can, and I want to make sure that I'm as transparent as possible, because I'm asking you for help, and I'm and I'm talking with you, like, very candidly. So if there's a question that you have that maybe I can answer, please don't hesitate to ask. If I see it pop up, I will be more than happy to answer it. So I'm just gonna start from the beginning, and maybe that will give you some of the answers to the questions that you guys have. So my son's name is Trevynn Conley. He has always been a good kid. He literally is the light of my life. I have a daughter and I have a son, and both of them are amazing. They've never caused me any problems. And when I say that, I mean, like, no sneaking out, no late on curfew. You have privileges. You never abandon those privileges. They worked really hard. They kept their nose down. They were everything to me. So both of them earned basketball scholarships. They were both good students. Neither of them ever caused me any problems. They never caused us school problems. They've never been suspended. They've never been in school suspension. They never had fights. They were just good kids. And what I mean by that is, like, they just got along with everybody. Like, they're just those kids, like the kids that, like, everybody likes. It doesn't matter what walk of life or who you are. And they embodied the qualities that you want to have, or that I want to have. Like, They just were good kids. I don't know how else to say it. Like, if I told them they had to be at a home at a certain time, they were home. If I told them they were grounded, they took their grounding, and that's just what it was. And if I told them they had chores to do, they knew what their chores were, and they just never, like, they were never kids that, like, were, like, rebellious, or they were, you know, misunderstood. Like, they were just regular kids. Like, they understood the rules. They did what they were supposed to do. They respected their mom. Like, me and Trey's sister, we don't understand why we are where we are right now, because Trey was such a good kid. Trey has always been a good kid. Trey has played ball since 4th grade. Trey's never even had no, I take that back. Trey had 1 technical foul. Let me not lie to you. In high school, his technical foul came from Trey played first of all, Trey played through high school, but then he decided that he wanted to play for a homeschool basketball team, which was Oklahoma Storm. Oklahoma Storm is like the top elite team in the nation for Christian homeschool basketball, right? They have a very rigorous schedule. It's like 64 games a year, not including like some of their tournaments. So they have a very rigorous schedule. He was held to a very high standard. They were at a tournament in Texas, and there was these cats on the side, and you know, they was talking shit and like, oh, you can't hit this, you're whack, blah 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 blah, right? And you can't hold the crowd for being accountable, but you can hold the player, right? So as we're playing, you know, Trey's hitting, and then it kind of pissed him off a little bit, and he was on the outside, and there were some guys on the side talking shit, and Trey was just kind of like, whatever, and he hit a 3 and turned around and looked at him. Only technical foul that Trey's had throughout high school and college, which was like, you know, it just really goes to show, like, he's not that guy. He's not the guy that's going to be super confrontational. Trey's not the guy that loses temper. Trey's not the guy that, you know, has issues. Like, he's just not that guy. Like, he's the team player. He's the guy that everybody wants to hang out with. He's the guy that wants to talk about. And, you know, like I said, I never had any trouble with him. So for us to be in the position that we are right now is just like, as his mom, that's really tough. It's really tough because I look, and as his mom, I think back like, what the fuck did I do wrong? Like, where did I go wrong? Like, what happened? Like, how do you go from being where we are to where we are, right? So you're talking about where we are. We're talking about being charged with somebody else's murder, blah, 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 blah. And it's confusing, and it's like misleading, and you don't understand it, and you're like, how is this possible? So I will just start from the beginning. I had just got off work. And I came home, and I was super tired, and Trey was home from college, and it was a break, and he was like, hey mama, you know, can you take me over to XYZ's house? Of course, my son was home on break, so he didn't have a car. And I'm like, boy, I am freaking tired. Like, I just got off work. I'm not trying to go nowhere, right? And he's like, that's okay. Do you mind just taking me to get me something to eat? This is the thing with Trey. Like, Trey never wanted to cause me problems. So Trey was so, like, agreeable in any situation. So when I'm like, boy, I'm tired, he's like, that's okay. So it's kind of like a pacifying type of behavior. And I said, yeah, I'll take you to get something to eat. It had just hit the pandemic, so a lot of places weren't open here in Edmond, Oklahoma. And he was like, I really want like Qdoba. I'm like, okay, cool. So we drive over there, but the line was so long. And he's like, Mama, I don't want to wait that long. Can we just go to Chick-fil-A? And I'm like, cool. We go through Chick-fil-A. You know, I'm trying to get back to the house. I had just got off work. It was a really long day. And I'm like, okay. So we go through Chick-fil-A. We get back to the house. When I pull up to the house, I'm like, where are you trying to go? He's like, I'm just trying to go over to Quay's. He's going to let me borrow his car so I can go get my hair cut. I'm like, okay. And he's like, but that's okay, Mama. Because, see, Trey real good with that, right? All of us know that, right? So he's that kid that, like, smooth talks you by being sweet. So he's like, it's okay, Mama. I know you're tired. No worries about it. And I'm like, okay. But that just makes me 10 times 1,000 harder want to help him, right? Like, okay, you just trying to get out the house. Let me help you get out the house. And and I'm like, okay. I take him to get him something to eat. We come back to the house. And I'm like, where are you trying to go? And he tells me, and I'm like, shit. That's the whole opposite side of town. But I'm like, okay. I said, go ahead and get your shit, son. I was like, I'll take you over there. He's like, okay, Mama. He's like, I'm just going to go grab my bag. And I was like, okay. And he comes, grabs his backpack, puts some clothes in there because they're going out a little later. He was like, we about to get our hair cut. We about to go kick back. I'm like, cool. Never had to worry about Trey kicking back because he's never caused me any problems, no worries, no forethought of worry. My biggest worry was always just be safe. Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. My biggest worry and forethought was like, if you meet a girl, just make sure you strap up, right? Because as moms, like, that's our biggest thing. Trey runs in the house. He grabs his backpack and he leaves the house. He gets back in the car. Took him over to his boy's house. Dropped him off at Quay's, which is his roommate in college. So he was home as well as Trey. And he was over at another friend's house. And so Trey was going over there, going to borrow their friend's car and go get his haircut. Well, long story short, I drop off my son. I come back home. As soon as I get home, literally not 3 minutes later, my son calls me. And he said, Mama, I just got shot. I'm like, boy, shut up. What are you talking about? And he said, Mama, I just got shot. I don't know who shot me, but I think I'm gonna die. And just taking me back to that day, it just is like, baby, what are you talking about? Who shot you? And he's like, I don't know. It's two white boys. Like, I was on the highway. I was going to get my hair cut. And he tried to run me off the road. He's like, I pulled off to 7-Eleven and he followed me. And I'm like, well, who is he? And he's like, Mama, I don't know. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, I said, well, what happened? Are you okay? Like, where are you? And he's like, Mama, I think I'm gonna die. And I'm like, where are you? And he kept dropping the phone. And I couldn't understand, like, obviously, I don't understand, like, everything that's going on. And he kept, like, hanging up, and he kept calling me back. And I'm sitting here, and I'm, as soon as he calls me, I just drop everything. I drop everything. I had just sat on my back porch. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. I opened a beer because that's what I do when I get stressed out or when I need relaxation. Just a beer. I'm not over here doing drugs. You know what I mean? Like, I might have a cigarette and a beer. And when Trey told me that he just got shot, I dropped everything. I ran out of the house. I was like, where are you? He kept dropping the phone. And he was just like, Mama, I don't know. Like, how do I get to the hospital? And he Googled how to get to a hospital near us, which is Integris. Everything in me was like, don't go this way. Go this way, which is a way I never go, like, ever in my life. Ever. I never take Hefner Parkway, ever. And then turns out the next day I find out that the other highway had been shut down, and so they were redirecting traffic around to Lake Hefner, which is like a whole nother 20 minutes. So it was like God, like, led me to my son, like, something ain't right, like, get to your baby. And I rushed to the hospital. And then as I'm at the hospital, Trey had already made his way in. He had called me several times on the way, and he kept dropping the phone because he had been shot in the left arm and the left shoulder, and he was trying to drive with the right hand. And I went to the hospital, and then I found out what happened. There's been some questions about maybe the video that came out from a friend of mine, and I want to clear that up because actually what happened was Trey was on the highway. There was these two white boys. I say boys, they're not boys. They're 38 and 41 years old. And they said my son was caught coming in too close. So they brake checked him. Trey moved. No problem. He went to an outside lane. Went to move around them. When he moved around them, they got pissed off. This is based on their testimony. Matt's testimony, the driver. He said, I felt like he was trying to punk me, so I wanted to bully him and let him know he wasn't about to get in front of me. So he sped up and got in front of him, and Josh went around and got back in front of my son, brake checked him again. My son exits at 7-Eleven. When Trey exits, they follow him. They pull into 7-Eleven after they see my son pull into 7-Eleven. Trey didn't pull into 7-Eleven to go in. Trey pulled in to see if they were following him. And they were. They pulled up. The driver and the passenger got out of the car, threw their hands up. Trey rolled down his back window and said, what's your problem? Like, you guys can get hurt. Like, what's your problem? Like, and if you knew my son, which I know you guys don't, but Trey's not real confrontational. Like, he's just a real cool cat. So he's just like, what's your problem? Like, you guys can get hurt. Like, be more careful. So there was no, like, argument. I guess from their side, there might have been some hostility. There might have been some argument. They threw their arms up. Get the fuck out of here, nigger. Blah, 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 right? So my son leaves. After he said, you need to be more careful, somebody could have got hurt. Trey pulls off. He went ahead and went on to his barber's house. Like, whatever. They're fucking old. Like, whatever. I'm not tripping with them. They're my mom's age, right? Trey leaves. He goes to the barber's house. When he gets to his barber's house, his best friend is like, hey, can you run me to 7-Eleven and get me a cigar? Trey's like, well, I just had some problems with somebody. And he's like, dude, they not even about to be up there no more. Turn around, go back to the 7-Eleven. Trey pulls in, not even putting 2 and 2 together. These cats are still sitting there. I'm going to share the video once this live is over. When Trey pulls in, the passenger of that car leaps out of his car, lunges into Trey's car, shoots my son 2 times. Actually, from the medical examiner that came on this week, he said Trey was actually only shot once. It just happened to be 2 wounds. He said when it went through one, it actually came out the other. And he said he shot him from up top, his top left shoulder. It came out the left. Initially, the reports from the medical reports were that Trey got shot twice. But the medical, the doctor that actually treated him said no, he actually got shot once. And it went through the top shoulder out of the left. He did an MRI, he did x-rays, he knew exactly what he was talking about. So when he shot Trey's friend that he took to get a cigar is a conceal and carry registered gun owner. He flees the car and returns fire. Unbeknownst to me, my son also had a weapon that he had just bought recently that I didn't know about. And he had it in the car and he grabbed it and he shot back. However, throughout the situation, they can't identify as to whether or not it was one gun or another. Matter of fact, none of the ballistics matched up. Okay? None. They did ballistics report, none of them matched. So you have my son that said, after he shot me, I shot back once. Clarence shot back 10 rounds, 9 to 11 rounds, I think it was. However, none of those ballistics were matched. The decedent died. However, we don't know how. However, he was a drug addict, so he had multiple drugs in his system. The driver of the car, Matt Turpin, had active warrants as well as a suspended license at the time.